ESPN FC Live. If you didn't know, we are with you here on our YouTube channel 3 times a week, Tuesdays, Wednesdays and Friday from 12 till 12:30 Eastern. We talk about all the latest news, all the biggest stories, the games that are coming up, and we often continue some of the conversations that we see on ESPN FC, which of course you can catch 7 days a week. But I am here as always with my good friend Janusz, Michallik, and today we are continuing a couple of conversations from the FC show. One of them is Gareth Southgate being linked to the Manchester United job. And then we'll touch on Euro 2024 and get Janusz to give us his power rankings. I almost said Shaka then, because it's Shaka's power rankings every Thursday. All right, so let's get started then, Janusz, if we can. The feeling on FC is that Gareth Southgate would not be the answer for Manchester United. What's your feeling if he were to be appointed manager there?
No, I think you and I have talked about it weeks ago, right? I think, it's an easy conclusion. At the end of the day, we sometimes rack our brains why that is, right? Well, what is about this man who has done such a great job with England, who has taken drama out of that squad, because that seemed to be a problem for England for decades now, right? It wasn't necessarily the level of talent that England had in the past. It was the stuff off the pitch and being in the tabloids and all of that, and that has stopped. He had a very good group of young players that he's taken pretty far, right? Because losing in the final of European Championships, semi-final of the World Cup is not too bad. But yet, I think at the highest level, and if you Manchester United, you have to ask yourself a question. Is there a time? Do they have the time for a manager like him to readjust to everyday football? Is the pragmatism in that he shows, is that something that Manchester United are all about? For me, they don't have the time, and to me, the best of the best are risk takers, right? High lines, high press, attack, entertain, which is very important, right? Manchester United were are no longer appointment viewing. They used to always be. When I look at the best of the best, right, and you can throw the Klopp, I'm talking England, obviously Premier League. When I look at Jurgen Klopp, when I look at Mikel Arteta, when I look at Pep Guardiola, when I look at even Unai Emery, right, those high lines, that absolute risk taking, knowing that all it matters is to attack and to always win, right? I mean, some of those managers, and Gareth Southgate, of course, will tell you there are different ways of winning. But I just think that we've seen it from time to time, that's just, that it doesn't go far enough. So when you have to deal with a club like Manchester United, where expectations are high, where everybody wants to go back to the days of being a team where, you lost in the tunnel against them because the power of their midfield, the power of the attack, the leadership of the center backs they used to have. I just don't see Gareth Southgate as the sort of man that's going to light the fire like the managers that I've mentioned.
So why do you think he is getting linked? Because there is still an argument to be made, Janusz, that they just need to first get things a lot steadier than they have been in recent seasons. And there must be something as to why we're seeing the name of Gareth Southgate linked here.
I really don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. So there's a lot of links. I don't know what's true or not. He wouldn't be the worst. Many will tell me, actually, you're probably right. That they maybe need a little bit of a quiet period. There's a new sheriff in town. Things are looking better. But I just wonder if they're gonna. I think in Manchester United, he's used to having the best for the last how many years at England, right? Now he's going to go to an environment. He's been there before where he didn't have that and doesn't have it right now. Are they gonna give him that? Perhaps not. Is he going to improve the players to a level where you feel absolutely comfortable? We don't know. He's been away from that, right? You don't improve players really when you go to England, right? Players, the managers at a club level do that. You just need to make the right choices. A little bit easier when you have the best. I'm not saying it's easy, but I really don't see why that link is being made, to be honest.
He was a captain, obviously, we know, during his playing days. He is a leader. It feels as though with Manchester United, they need a stern manager, someone who can be that leader, someone who can be that type of captain's role, that managerial role, but who does also relate to the players Is there an argument to be made that he is somebody who can do that?
Sure. Again, I mean, I'm not going to sit here looking at what he's done, with England, which is incredible. I mean, I think outside of England, everybody pretty much laughs at England all the time, right? I mean, he's this big, that's where the football comes from. But I mean, look who's winning, right? I mean, the usual teams in England are usually never close to it. So I don't want to take that away from him, because he was so close. I'll use this probably down the road, but he's going to have to still prove that he can win it. I think, for me, I look at him and I think to myself that, he had to win the final against Italy. This was an opportunity lost, and he will never get an opportunity like this again. And we'll probably get to it when we talk later on in the show.
I think we will. Obviously, talking about stern managers and those who can still relate to the players, we've had a fan question come in here. It says, does a stern manager like a Sir Alex or Mourinho, Guardiola or Conte cause more potential risks with today's modern day player? I'm sure they're alluding to players maybe being a little bit of a different type of person to deal with these days than maybe they were back in the day. Obviously, the modern day player is very different to the olden day players.
I think you have to have balance. Do you not think that Klopp and Pep are stern? I promise you. I mean, Klopp, that smile, it's a grin. I've said this many times. I mean, if you talk to the players, I mean, he can level you. I mean, he's the one that's going to build you up. But there are times, I mean, you don't have to know and be in the know to know that Pep Guardiola and Klopp and Jurgen Klopp are not easy to live with. They give you examples at times in press conferences with journalists or anybody else. I mean, those players, that's what I mean, can light it up, but they have a personality, have a persona that, they bring you down, but they build you right up because they know what works. So, I mean, Mikel Arteta comes across like that as well. I just don't see in Gareth Southgate that sort of balance. And of course, I don't know him. Sometimes that perception from the outside, the way he looks, the way he carries himself, like a gentleman, which I, by the way, love. There's a lot of things I love, but I just don't get the sense that that's it. And it's not easy. I mean, we don't see very often managers. I mean, I don't know if Jogi Löw, for example, wants to be a club manager, but here we are, how many years ever, after he's not. It's not an easy transition, I don't think. And if you Manchester United, unless you say to yourself, we'll give him whatever it takes. We don't care what the fans say. We don't care what the results say. Is it possible? Sure. I'm not saying that it's an impossibility for Gareth Southgate to get Manchester United better. That's not what I'm saying. My gut feeling, if I were in charge, I wouldn't go that way, down that road.
Would you feel in change if he won Euro 2024 with England?
No, to me, it's different. No, it wouldn't. Well, yeah, first and foremost, I think he's doing a tremendous job with England. Even if he doesn't and he goes out, I'd still keep him. I think that's what FA wants anyway. I mean, they want the quietness and decent runs, even though obviously they come up short every so often. But it's not that easy. Everybody else comes up short, with the exception of a couple of teams every 4 years. So I mean, that's not the end of the world. I don't think FA is going to let him go. I think this is a moot point anyway.
So if not Ten Hag at Manchester United, then who, Janusz? Like we were just saying right here on this very show the other day that Manchester United still does have that allure and the pull for a top manager to want to challenge themselves at a club like that. So who?
And we're hot. I've been hot and cold on him and everybody else. That's how we operate, right? When things work, it's great. When they don't, we have doubts. But I think if I had to look what may be available, I probably go towards Nagelsmann.
Nagelsmann, tell me why Nagelsmann then. What's he got?
It just, I mean, he is proactive. He's young, as we said. He's always gung-ho. He's after it. I mean, he's a cop. I mean, remember, he was the youngest manager that came in. He's had a bad spell at Bayern Munich. And now that we look at Bayern Munich, everybody's asking questions. Why was he ever let go, right? I mean, at the time, I think in the group stage, he's won all the games, right, with Bayern.
Yeah, but the previous season, obviously, people forget about when they talk about the season that he was let go.
Yeah, I mean, Bayern Munich has had issues. It was Niko Kovac. This is not something that you can put down to Nagelsmann. He wasn't there all that long. The issues continue at Bayern Munich until this day, right? And this is a team that usually bounces back immediately. So this is maybe generational, whatever it is. Teams like that go through it. And you'd be hard pressed, or anybody be hard pressed to prove it to me that it was Nagelsmann who's brought Bayern Munich to where they are right now, because that's not true. We see Germany, how nicely that, I mean, one game doesn't make a difference, but to me it does. So I think Nagelsmann is still one of those managers that is in the ilk of the ones that I've mentioned, and Manchester United, I think, crave or should crave. And that's high risk, high press, entertain, be the team that everybody talks about for the right reasons, because they play good football. And again, I don't want to overstretch this. I mean, our attention is divided these days. I don't want to see boring teams. I don't care what their names are. I don't have the time for it. And when you look around, and we often talk about money without knowing why we talk about it, I think that's where the world is going. It's gone for a while now. That we're very picky in terms of who we want to see play football.
Do you think he can be stern enough for Nagelsmann at Manchester United? Because that had been one of the criticisms, that he was very much a friend to many of the players.
Yeah, if anything, he's probably too stern, if you ask anybody. I don't think. I mean, being stern, that's the probably easiest part. Anybody can bark. You still have to prove that you can manage, which I think over his career, still young, he's shown that he can, right? So looking at his background, I think he's worked with younger players as well. He's worked with small teams as well, so he's got a plethora of experiences as well. Now Bayern Munich, now Germany. Nobody's going to bring that fact that the lack of experience, or that he's young anymore, right? So I think he's tasted everything. Look, I don't know again, but he would be one that I would really think about.
Okay, and obviously speaks English as well. Speaks English well. So yeah,
you have to these days. If you don't, you have no chance.
That's true. Okay, let's get to our Euro 2024 power rankings. We're going to put you to the task, as we always do here. Let's get your top 5 in the power rankings. I don't know which way you want to go. Which way would you prefer to go, Janusz? Your top?
I'll go for the top. I've written it down, and of course, I can't see it.
What favorite is then?
I'm going to go France, number 1.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Let's
do you want me to read it all, or pick your spots, or you want me to go one by one?
Tell me why France are number 1.
Well, I just think they're the best team. I mean, I was there at the final and the whole, World Cup. I saw the 2-3 deep in every position, even though yesterday, even their under 23s were great, but the United States somehow drew at the end 2-2. I saw, and they're friendly, by the way, they play in the Olympics. But anyway, I had to throw the U.S. Into it. My apologies. But it's just an excellent team. And I think that they're overall favorites, regardless of what happened in the last game. And I'll throw it to you, because I put Germany as my number 2, which surely will shock you probably.
Well, it's actually interesting that you say that, because they are up there when it comes to the favourites. I think it's like France and England are tied for favourites. Germany are pretty much high up on the list as well. Obviously, they've got...
Well, I mean, I can't imagine that Germany were on anybody's list, right? That game against France.
Are the odds makers. We read it out the other day on ESPN FC, and they're pretty high. And obviously, that in itself causes,
because they beat France.
A lot of
because they beat France.
Before that, Janusz, this was before.
No, I don't believe it.
Look at the odds makers; they're pretty high up, and obviously there must be that feeling that because of the home nation, that's going to help them. But you're saying no, you don't believe it. So that France game has changed your mind, then?
It did. I mean, there was a couple of indications. For me, I've always felt that they had a great talent. I always thought that there needs to be a manager here. Nagelsmann comes in and does a very good job. It took him a little bit, but of course, he doesn't have the opportunities that you have at the club level. Obviously, Toni Kroos, everybody saw it, right? Coming out of retirement after 3 years, as if he's never left, right? We didn't think that Florian Wirtz and Jamal Michallik could play together, because they're very similar to the way they play. Look at that. They didn't have Leroy Sané. I like the fact that they, even Kai Havertz, even though he's not number 9 at a club level and country level, he's finally showing what we once saw at Leverkusen before everything that happened to him at Chelsea and in the beginning at Arsenal. I like their plan B with Fulkrug. I often talk about other national teams where they don't have that true number 9, that what I would call even a little bit of a bruiser, great in the air, pretty soft feet for a big man, but who can kind of use his elbows and make sure that he holds onto the possession. In that game against France, we didn't see Leroy Sané, who's been much, much better in the last season as well. So, I mean, I think the depth is there. I look at somebody like Ter Stegen and Neuer. What a 1-2. Everybody would love to have that. Jonathan Tah is becoming a good player. Rudiger, I think everybody, starting to understand that what makes him good, because, when he was at Chelsea, kind of this chaotic type of player. At Germany, he's always played the part. Obviously, Real Madrid, look at him. That didn't faze him in any way. So I always felt that Germany were out there. Maybe I was afraid to say it in that spell when they were not so good, but I just felt it's not going to take much. This is not an absolute rebuild. So I don't buy it that people had him up there. I think the French game shouldn't probably change that opinion, but it did. And in my opinion, it showed. By the way, France was very, very good in the first half. That game could have gone totally differently. And that's why France is still my number 1.
It's interesting that you say that's where your mind changed on Germany, because you seem to have, it's like you say, you must have been holding it in what you actually think about Germany, because you seem to make some really valid and good points about Germany that you could take away that France game and they'd all still be just as valid. And maybe that's why they're high up with the bookmakers. That's 1 and 2. Who's 3?
3. I'm gonna give this to Portugal. Look, I look at that team, and you show me another nation that has the talent that they have. Now, talent's not everything. I understand. We've had couple of golden generations already, one that didn't come out at first, right? And later on, they won the European championships. But I mean, this is just a tremendous. I mean, look, I think they've won last 11 games, right? Since Martinez took over, he's won every game. Now, you look at who's they played, okay, not the world beaters, but you still have to do that. You still have to be able to do it. It's still some pressure because there were Nations League or qualifiers, whatever they were. The last result against Sweden, who are not maybe at their best, but it's 5-2. It doesn't matter who you beat. You still have to do it. Here I am sitting, waiting for Poland to play Wales in a group that they didn't come out of, that had the Moldova, Albania, and Faroe Islands, and they didn't come out of that group. Strange things do happen. So I'm going to give, Martinez his due, and Portugal, they're an absolutely excellent team. And I think that if things go well for them, there's no drama early in the group stage, I think this is a team you better watch out for. So I'm going to give him benefit of the doubt, because strength in numbers in these tournaments, and you have to rotate, you have to make substitutions. And, I look at their bench. I mean, the starting lineup, who knows what that may be, but there's some talent there that can change games on the spot. So that's my number 3.
Okay, and just to give you the ESPN bet odds, England, France, Germany, and Portugal and Spain are all in the top 5 of the Euro 2024 odds.
I didn't know that. I didn't look at any of it, by the way.
No, it's fine. It's because it was on my show the other night, and as you said, it could be a surprise that when you said Germany, it obviously caused a good talking point and a debate point straight away as to why they are up there.
They're hosts, by the way, too.
Exactly.
It's probably worth mentioning.
And so that's probably massively going in their favour too when it comes to the bookies. So you've done 1, 2, and 3. Who's number 4?
I was fighting between Spain and England. I'm going to give Spain slight benefit of the doubt, even though they're young. This is maybe not the Spain that we once knew, that were winning the World Cup and European championships back to back and then some. But it's a young team that I think is going to have a little bit less pressure on them. I don't think it's Spain is looked upon as the Spain of all. It's like, these guys are there, 1 or 2. I think in a way it will help him. We'll see. Obviously, I didn't put him in the spot that I'm used to, but I think they're slightly better. I just, and I may be wrong. I put England 4th, and look, momentum is a big thing, right? But England being 5th, they have an easy group, right? I think it's one of the easiest groups, so I think they'll get out of it unscathed, which is important. If they avoid injuries, they can rotate within games because I think they'll get through that rather easily. So this may move them up, but I just think that their time has come. Remember that part that I said that Southgate had a chance, and that chance will not come around. I have a feeling that this is it. Those championships were different because we were coming out of COVID. We all know that it was supposed to be happening in numerous countries, but England played 6 out of 7 games, or almost every game they played at home, and they had the final at home, and they didn't take advantage of that. And I think they'll pay the price for that. I think if they get to the final, it will be great, but I don't see that happening.
So, yeah, you don't see that happening, but you have 4 teams before them when they're the favourites for many, along with France. So why don't you see it happening with the players that they do have?
I just, that loss of momentum a little bit. I think they're very much dependent on Harry Kane, which is not a bad thing if he's available. If he's not, we can look. I'll wait and see. They're playing today, aren't they? I mean, that last game without Harry Kane. Ali Watkins still untested. There's not many chances to look at different combinations, are there, right? And knowing Gareth Southgate, even if he had 5 more games, that's the issue with him, right? I sometimes have the same issue with Gareth Southgate going to United as I do as a manager of England because he sticks with his people. That's great for them. I would love to have him as a coach and trust me. And regardless of how I play, I played. You look at Maguire's. I mean, for the longest time he was like that with Sterling, who did great for him. Now he's out of favor for some reasons, but I think he's stuck in his way, and I think. I think England will pay the price for that.
Well, you mentioned so let's take a look at the groups and we'll go through them and see what you think. Group A, Group B and Group C here. So in Germany's group is Scotland. That's the opening game. Hungary and Switzerland. Who's getting out?
Out of this one, Germany for sure. And did you see Germany-Scotland, by the way? I mean, Scotland were the better team. The first 45 minutes had 2 unbelievable chances. So don't let that result fool you, because I think that's the opening game, isn't it, of the European Championships, which Germany will win. Hungary, remember last Euros? They were in the group with Germany. That was the Portugal too. That was an unbelievable group. Maybe I forget who was, or France was in there. But I'm going to say Germany, and you know what? I'm going to give it to our Scottish lads. Simply, Stevie Nicol, Craig Burley, Mark Donaldson. Let him have it. Let him have it. They'll lose to Germany and they'll bounce back. Although I worry about that, because when you lose the first game, you know where that goes usually. But Germany and Scotland.
Right. Group B is an interesting one, isn't it? Spain, Croatia, Italy and Albania.
Yeah, that's, I mean, in a way, group of death with the one that we'll see later.
Yeah.
We have a segment, who'll disappoint, right? I have a feeling it may be Italy. Croatia, obviously, we always kind of say that it won't be their tournament, and they somehow find a way. I can not give it to Italy, but just there'll be a question later if we don't get to it. Italy is going to be the one that will disappoint the most, but they're defending the title, so I will say Spain and Italy.
Group C: Slovenia, Denmark, Serbia, England.
Can Denmark do it? They like these tournaments, don't they? I mean, European. Remember that one time they won it? England and Denmark.
All right. Okay, so here we go. And I know you said you're a bit torn over what is the group of death right now. Because but Group D is a potential group of death.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, look at France, you look at Austria, right? We're talking United again. They come around. Ralph Rangnick couldn't put 2 and 2 together for that club, but somehow he does it for Austria. I mean, they've been a totally different team since he's taken over. They're going to be dangerous to a level where, they're capable of taking points away from Netherlands or France. I think Wales and Poland, we'll find out a little bit later today. It's a 50-50 there. Both, I think, capable of at least doing what Austria are doing. So that could be potentially one of those groups, but just below the group of death, I think. And you're going to see Netherlands and France coming out of that.
The Netherlands and France. Group E?
Group E, again, great story. I think Ukraine should take care of business. We all know what's happening there, how difficult it's been. Every time I watch them, even right after the war that broke out, and where they're playing everywhere, they're playing in Poland, Germany, their club teams playing all over the place. They find a way. They play very good football. They play entertaining football. They have great individual players that are doing great all over Europe in the leagues. And I think we'll see that in European Championship, and they will come out of this group together with Belgium.
All right. And then we've got Group F, which is Turkey, Portugal, Georgia or Greece, and Czech Republic.
Portugal comes out of that. After that, take your pick, because I don't like any of these teams. Turkey never does anything, even though they have talent. Czech Republic, I've seen with Poland in the group in qualifying. Nothing special to write home about. Georgia, Greece, by the way, watch that today when you get a chance, because that crowd in Tbilisi is going to be absolutely amazing. It's going to be crazy against Greece. Greece has the pedigree when you talk about European Championship. So I think by default, I may just give it, between Turkey and Greece. My goodness. Okay, because I never believe in Turkey and their club teams in terms of actually doing something. I love the country and I love their fans because they create an incredible atmosphere. But I'm going to go against myself. I'm going to give it to Turkey to come out of that group, simply because I can't make an argument for anybody else that makes sense.
So let's get to what you were saying about Italy then. Do you think they're going to be the biggest disappointment in the tournament?
I think so. Look, they're Italy. It's one of the greatest countries in world's football. Nothing's going to change. They're going to be there or thereabout. Always, right, when it comes to these trophies. We treat them a little bit like Germany, but we do that with all these Brazil's and Argentina's teams that are, shown over decades that they can do it. Obviously, they won the European Championships promptly. They didn't qualify for the World Cup. I still look at this team under Luciano Spalletti, which is trying to change itself, right, from being the pragmatic one that win it, because we talk a lot about pragmatism, right? Defending, it's an important trait. Here on this side of the pond, we always say, that the defense wins the championship. So there's nothing wrong about that. I think Italy has proven that. I think Spalletti wants to play a little bit differently. I saw that in the last friendly game. He's toying, with the three in the back. But I just think they don't have these personalities anymore, right? If you look at Chiellini, if you look at Bonucci, you look now, and they're just missing that everywhere. There's not a bona fide striker like we used to have. Retegui seems to be want to come as that, but then you look all around, and this is a team that I still think is looking for these buffons, right, that get you going the moment the national anthem starts, and the leaders that were just unbreakable. And I think this is lacking just yet. And the change of style, at least what Spalletti is trying to do, as we know him as a manager, to be more expensive, I don't know if that's going to clash with itself a little bit. That's why I think that Italy is not going to play the role that we saw in the last European Championships.
Let's say, I'm going to speak to you as a Pole now. Let's say Poland get through to the knockout rounds. Who would you least like to face?
What do you mean, least like to face? We have France and Holland.
And think of the way you guys play. Who would you most not want to come up against?
In that group?
No, not in the group. Let's just say Poland make it to the knockouts. And you can just imagine any other team did. Who's the last team you wanted to
I think, France. Dutch are the first game. That's that's not easy either. Poland had him a couple of years ago. But yeah, France. That was the game, if you remember, right out of Poland came out of the group stages, and it was 4-2 to France. But, the second goal was a Lewandowski's penalty that had to be retaken, if I remember. And it looked sort of like Poland actually played with France until, if you remember, Mbappe, like a couple of times, says, okay, enough of this. And he scored two wonderful goals. Really, as if he just picked up the goal and took this unbelievable shot from 25 yards, if you remember. So it wasn't even close. Yeah, France is obviously the one. With Holland, you almost think that you can, because they'll give you a little bit of an opportunity. And at your best, perhaps you can. Poland has done that. I think there was a draw, if I remember. But yeah, France, come on. Well, anyway, if I'm saying that French are, you know, the favorites to win the European Championship, and Poland having that in the group, that's an easy pick.
And obviously Poland have to get there first before we're even talking about that.
Yeah, that's 50-50 against Wales away. Poland has won last 6 times against Wales. Lost to them decades ago, just once in history. But it's going to be different ball wax today because it is in Cardiff.
Cardiff. Yeah, well, best of luck with that one. And thanks so much to all of you for being with us on ESPN FC Live. We'll see you again next time.